Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Prospect Central 101. My name is Chris, and today joining me we have,
Braden.
Keelan.
and we're going to be talking about this year's Super Bowl, which is 56, I believe.
Yes. 56.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds right to me. So we have two of my favorite teams to watch in the league this year, the LA Rams and Cincinnati Bengals. So just quickly, like, what are your guys' thoughts on these two teams, how they performed this year, stuff like that? Brain, you can go first.
I mean, it's hard to say that they. It's not that difficult to say. That a team that made the Super Bowl played good this year. Obviously, the Bengals are more so relying on Bur- Burrow and Chase. Just I don't want to say just Burrow, Chase, and allowing it, but basically they're definitely more dependent on those individual players in the Rams. A lot of their success is because Burrow has dropped masterclass after masterclass.
Yeah.
Keelan?
Yeah. Well, yeah. They're two of my bandwagon teams from the start of the playoffs and even beforehand. I mean, obviously the Bengals have a prolific passing offense, and Mixon's a good running back, and obviously we know about their offensive line woes. And the Rams are just they're a better built team, but there's something about the Bengals. I don't know. They're just playing with a lot of heart, and they're I don't know. They're just both teams are have played very well. Obviously, making it here, and it'll be an interesting Super Bowl against two teams that I enjoy rooting for.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this is probably one of the most fun Super Bowls that we've had in a long time. At least for me personally, because like most of the time, like we get teams like basically Tom Brady versus the random team
Yeah,
of the year, and I feel like this is kind of the first time where like we've had two teams that are actually legitimately good teams, but that aren't Tom Brady led teams. So it's kind of like one
yes,
of those weird things where it's like, okay, it's not Bill Belichick, it's not Tom Brady, it's not the Patriots, it's not like the Eagles had the one good year, but they didn't really, to me, feel like they were that great of a team. I know that they won the Super Bowl, but like Nick Foles and Carson Wentz, especially in hindsight, that wasn't really like the same talent level of these teams this year to me. Uh, so like these two teams both feel like they have a lot of legitimate playmakers on both sides of the ball for both teams, and obviously the Bengals are a little bit more reliant on Joe Burrow, as you guys have said. But even then, they still have some good playmakers on defense. They have guys like Mike Hilton. They have guys like Jesse Bates. They have a pretty good pass rush with Hendrickson and Hubbard, uh, and a few other guys there. So definitely a very exciting Super Bowl, and should be a really, really balanced game. So starting off, we have injuries for both teams. Key ones for the Rams are Joseph Noteboom, the offensive tackle. Robert Woods, obviously been out for a long time now, for wide receiver for the Rams. Jordan Fuller, the safety. Tyler Higbee is out. He's on IR. Rams tight end. He was the number 8 tight end this year per PFF. And then a couple of other backup reserve guys, including former Louisville Cardinal Tutu Atwell, as well. For the Bengals, we have Auden Tate, who I believe has been out for a long time.
yeah,
Riley Reef, who I think's been out for a long time. Uh, Darius Phillips, who's been out for, I believe, also a long time. Akeem Davis Gaither, and possibly CJ Uzoma,
yeah.
who was PFF's top 12 tight end this year. He's questionable.
I think
So
he'll be good to go. It's from everything that from what it sounds like that he should be good to go.
sweet, yes, yeah, that would be very nice. Definitely a uh, beneficial piece to have on the offensive side of the ball. You guys specifically know how much I love my tight ends.
Yes.
Uh, so Moving on to that, is there any specific injury that you guys want to talk about further?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's tough, especially most of these injuries have been long-term injuries that aren't really all that surprising, but it's tough. The Higby one's really tough for the Rams. I mean, he's been a great tight end and this season, and they're already pretty thin at that position, so they're gonna be relying on some secondary guys that we haven't heard from much of the season. So it's gonna be that's definitely tough for them.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
No Boom to me isn't quite as bad just because Whitworth is back and he was the Whitworth replacement. So I mean,
Oh,
as long as as long as they stay healthy on the line tomorrow, then they should be fine with that one.
during the game.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yes, yeah,
Going back to the tight ends, though, one of the reserve options for the Rams, Jay Munt, also appears to be on injured reserve. So their depth is also a little thin there. And of course, they lost Gerald Everett to Seattle. Was that this
yeah,
offseason or the year before?
yeah. I think it was. I
Off
might.
this
I
off
think it was
season,
this
yeah.
one. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, so they lost three of their tight ends within the last 12 months. So
mhm.
very interesting situation going on there. I don't even remember who their starting tight end is. I'll have to go to the lineup page for that.
Well, it was Higby.
Yes.
Right, but like now for tomorrow.
I can't
Oh,
remember his name, but he had a touchdown last or 2 weeks ago.
Blanton, it appears, is his name.
Yes, that's the one.
Uh,
Yeah,
so
he
you
had
go.
a touchdown either. I think it was against the Bucks or else, or it might have been both games. But I know he's definitely made a bit of an impact. But
Nice. So we have some basic team metrics here as well, and it appears that both of these teams are fairly similar with the exception of the defensive ability. Rams overall number 2 team, Bengals number 7. So the Rams are definitely a little bit favored, at least by PFF. Uh, Defensive rankings, Rams are number 1, Bengals are 20th. Offensive rankings, Rams are number 6, Bengals are number 2. So the Bengals do have a little bit of a better offense, in part because of their run game. Uh,
mhm,
as strength of schedule, Rams are 15th, Bengals 21st, so not particularly difficult either way, but not very easy.
yeah,
Average offensive snaps in terms of pacing, both teams are basically right at 66. Rams exactly 66, Bengals 65.8. So basically both literally 66 snaps a game. Run percentage, also both very similar. Rams are at 39 and Bengals 38, which is 61% passing for the Rams and 62% for the Bengals.
yeah.
And then EPA is a little bit higher for the Bengals with the run game at negative 0.16 compared to the Rams' negative 0.21, while the opposite is true for the passing game. The Bengals are at 0.22, or the Rams, I mean, are at 0.22, while the Bengals are at 0.11. So
Why don't you explain what EPA is?
UPA is basically estimated points added. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit different than total points, which is what I've been going over with you guys. But
mhm,
basically, it's just a way of predicting how much a specific segment of the ball contributes towards scoring a touchdown or a field goal. So, for example, if you don't get a field goal on that drive, you can still or a touchdown, you can still contribute toward the likelihood of getting points. Uh,
Mhm.
Whereas, for example, the opposite is true, and you can score a 75-yard passing touchdown, but the run game won't add any points because you didn't run the ball. Uh,
yeah.
so it's basically just a way of finding out how much, on average, per possession, a team or a specific segment of the game adds toward the probability of scoring.
Gotcha. Cool.
Mhm.
So, is there anything else that you guys want to discuss from that group? Pacing, run pass percentage, or offense defense?
Not really. I mean,
Mm.
it's all fairly straightforward. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, both teams are great passing the ball. The Rams have a nice little committee of running backs that have, well, they've struggled. I mean, ball security
I
was
wouldn't
an
say.
issue last,
Oh,
or
ball security, yes.
in
I
the
thought you meant in general. I was like,
oh,
I don't know. They've been good.
well, I was more so talking about last game in particular. They couldn't really establish the run, and they were ball security was an issue, and but they have a nice little combination of backs with Akers and Michelle in particular. Well, the Bengals have that top dog with Joe Mixon, who's really good, but so that so so the run games are different in that sense. But I guess well the analytics say that they run it similar amounts of time or whatever.
In terms of percentage of plays, yes.
Yes.
Both teams are just under 40%.
What's
Which
league average if you have that up?
I don't have that
Um,
off the top of my head. My guess is that it's probably around 45%.
Gotcha.
Uh,
yeah.
it could be a little bit higher, but
Okay.
like as a ballpark.
Yeah,
Uh,
both teams also really do have really good passing offenses. I mean, Stafford and Cup and Van and Odell now, and well Higby up until last week and or 2 weeks ago, I guess, and then I mean Woods is
hmm
there, but hasn't been there for a while, and then the Bengals have obviously Burrow and Jamar and
Jamar.
Kitty and Boyd and
Oh.
and both of these teams also have very similar coaching staffs as well, with
yeah,
Taylor having come from LA under McVay.
yeah,
So it does
Yeah.
make sense that stylistically and tendency wise, they would be pretty similar. Obviously, that doesn't always necessarily directly correlate, as we've seen, because personnel can be slightly different and all kinds of stuff like that. And we've seen significant differences between even LaFleur and McVay, and
yeah.
uh, LaFleur
hmm
and crap, what's the other Rams guy? Ah, why am I blanking on this?
Taylor
No, not
Taylor,
Taylor.
but,
Um,
uh,
O'Connell.
no, not
No.
O'Connell. He's under McVay. Um, um, crap,
like
why am I blanking on this? Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan. Um,
Oh.
that dude, I didn't know. Well, I didn't know that's who you're talking to about, but yeah, I guess he was under McVay.
yeah, as the in
Right.
Washington.
No, it was more. It was the other way around. Shanahan was. Oh, McVay was under Shanahan.
Oh, it was
Okay.
okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least in
Washington,
Washington.
right?
Washington, yeah. Kyle was the OC, and Sean was he
QB
the tight
coach.
ends coach, or was he the he was a position coach, and Kyle was the OC.
Interesting. I
Gotcha.
thought it
Yeah,
was
for
the
some
other way
reason I had
around,
that
but
flipped.
yeah,
Cause Mike wanted his kid to be the OC. Not
fair
that he
enough.
didn't deserve it, obviously.
Many,
Kyle Shanahan's very, very good.
many people
Right.
have said.
But yeah,
Um,
like the difference in
So
tendencies, going back to the main point about this game, the difference in tendencies between those teams is extremely dramatic, especially when you factor in Shanahan.
yeah.
Shanahan and LaFleur both use a lot more of the fullback element, whereas the Rams
mhm,
and McVay didn't use a fullback literally at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, like, the difference in tendencies, even though they come from the same tree, can be very stark. But we do notice that with these two teams, that they do have a lot of very similar
Yeah.
situations. So,
And Taylor only spent 1 year with the Rams, I think, as QB coach, unless I'm thinking of somebody else.
I don't remember if it was 1 or 2, but yeah, he wasn't there very long. I know LaFleur was only there for the 1 year.
O'Connell's only
and then
been there for one, right?
Right. Well, I mean, I think that he may have been a coach there under LaFleur, or not LaFleur, under the other dude that got
Shanahan,
hired.
Pardon?
Shanahan,
O'Connell? McDaniel.
Shanahan wasn't with the Rams. The Rams had a different OC. Did they go from LaFleur to McConnell? Because LaFleur's been
Yeah,
there for like 4 years in Green
they
Bay.
went from LaFleur to hold on. Did they
I don't remember.
let me look
Because
very
I
LaFleur
think
was
it
in.
was
let
Because
me
La,
look
Go
very
ahead.
powerfully.
because LaFleur went to Tennessee for the year so that he could get the year of play calling, and then got hired to be in Green Bay.
I don't think they didn't hire an OC
Yeah,
between
I
Oh,
don't
that's
LaFleur
know
and
what
if
it.
they.
O'Connell,
That's
and
what it
they had
was.
Waldron as the de facto kind of.
Yeah, it was Waldering and Cromer. Aaron Cromer, I think, was the
Yeah, and
run game
Cromer
guy.
went. Didn't Cromer go to? Where did he go?
I think he went to Seattle with Shane, didn't he?
No, he just.
Ugh.
Yeah, he just took the O line coach job with the Bills. That's who it was.
Ah, interesting.
But yeah, no, yeah, it was McVay was like didn't hire an OC and just kind of had basically
Himself.
what San Francisco did with LaFleur and McDaniel for a couple of years before LaFleur went to the Jets.
Right, and of course Cliff literally has an hiring OC.
Yeah, no, they have
He
a
literally named himself the OC.
Well, it's like in the Patriots don't have a technically have a DC.
DC, right?
Like Belichick doesn't call plays, but I don't think they have someone on the coaching staff that has the title of defensive coordinator. I think it's like
no.
Mayo. It's like Mayo and Belichick kind of.
From what I hear, most of the defensive play calling is Steve.
Yeah, and I'm saying that, but they kind of share responsibility as a DC,
Yeah,
the DC
it's
responsibility.
mainly it's mainly Steve, Gerard, and Bill, and there's a bit of Brian Belichick sort of, but it's mainly Steve, Gerard, and Bill.
Yeah. Anyway,
So, yeah, it's kind of interesting to see some of the similar tendencies and some of the things that are very similar about these teams. Even though obviously the Rams have a lot more experience, they've been built a lot longer. McVay has been there longer.
Yeah,
The front office is a lot bigger there, and everything else. It's the paths that they've taken. I feel like this Bengals team is kind of similar to where the Rams were when they played the Patriots a few years ago, but with a
yeah,
much better
yeah,
quarterback. Obviously,
yeah.
Burrow's better than Goff was.
Many people are saying.
and people are saying this.
Yeah, no, but yeah, it's quite Yeah, I mean, I think they're similarly built. I mean, there's obviously some key differences. The I mean, other than golf, the Bengals have a lot more of the higher capital. The, the Rams never had like a Jamar Chase or anything, but I guess
No.
that was Gurley's big year, wasn't it? And then obviously Aaron
Yep,
Donald and
yep. And
stuff. But
then they
And
also
they
had,
still had Wade Phillips back then.
right,
yeah, they had a few other pieces, but yeah, it was mainly Donald, and they had like John Johnson, like a young John Johnson.
yeah,
Uh,
That was Gurley obviously had a master class that season.
yep, and then they went to C.J. Anderson, who would go on to
Who
sign
actually
with the
was he
Lions
actually
and
was really
epically
really good
fail.
for them.
Oh, he was great for them in the playoffs, yeah, but then he'd go on to sign with Detroit and have a total disaster class and get cut in 3 weeks.
Fab. Yeah, and
I'm
then
gonna blame. Was that with Matt Patricia?
Yes, it was.
I'm gonna blame Matt Patricia and not
I
C.J. Anderson.
I also partially blame Daryl Bevel for that, but yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna blame the Lions coaching staff. The majority of the blame goes to them over CJ because he was great for us. He was great for the Rams, and
And
then
then signed in Detroit.
then didn't he go somewhere else and was pretty solid afterwards? Or am I
Uh,
tripping?
I don't think so. It's possible, but
I
I
think he
don't.
went. Didn't he go to Seattle or was that some other dude?
That was AP.
No, that was AP.
Well, I know he did. I thought
Oh,
CJ Anderson did.
then maybe he did
I
too, but
let me
Oh
let me
yeah,
look at.
no, he went. He dipped after the Lions. He just straight up
I see.
left.
Thank you.
Dude, dude saw Matt Patricia and coaching and decided to no
He's like
longer play
I
football.
forget which team it is, but he's like a head coach of some high school.
Who?
CJ.
CJ? Oh,
ah,
yeah, he's at Monte Vista High School in California.
Yeah.
oh, nice. So we will go back a little bit and backtrack and go to the quarterback play now. Joe
Mm-hmm.
Burrow this year is very good. Uh, he is one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I think I'm already ready to call him top five. Might be a little bit early, but based on his performance, not just in the postseason, but in the regular season, I think that's pretty fair.
Okay.
Uh, but Joe Burrow was PFF's QB1 this year, 92.3, and Stafford was number 7 and 85.1. So I think I have him at number 6 after Brady retired, something like that. So
Who's
about,
Stafford?
yeah,
Yeah,
so about
you
the
go.
same.
Yeah, I have. Let me look very powerfully on my spreadsheet.
So while you look at that, I am going to go over a little bit more of the details behind their rankings. Passer rating when clean, both of them are at 112 exactly. Uh, Passer
That's
rating under
wild.
pressure, Bro is a little bit better at 89.6 compared to Stafford's 80.1, but they are number 1 and number 2. Big time throw percentage, Stafford's at 5.5, Burrow's at a little over 5, so as a little bit as expected. Stafford a little bit more reliant on the big play. Turnover worthy play percentage also favors Burrow, uh, as you might expect. Burrow at 2.25, Stafford at 3.58. Again, same reason. Power rating, not exactly sure what that is, but I'm guessing it's a PFF advanced statistic of some sort. Burrow is like 6.5 compared to Stafford's 6, which puts Burrow at number 5 and Stafford at 7, which I think is exactly where I have them. Uh, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I have Burrow at 5 as well, and Stafford at 9.
Hmm.
Still a little bit lower than PFF and me,
I'm including Deshaun Watson, who you aren't.
right? And PFF obviously isn't either,
Yeah,
uh, based on this season's data. So,
yeah.
uh, bring your thoughts.
I mean, I mean, I think Burrow is definitely is a. It's hard to. It's like, yeah, I'm debating where it's like is like a season and a half of Burrow over. Like, does it overshadow what Stafford's done? Because Stafford was mostly like this in Detroit, but he didn't get noticed because he played in Detroit.
So here's the other thing about Stafford too, is the last 2 years under Patricia, the injury bug bit him quite a bit with the
Yeah.
back. So I feel like a
Hmm.
lot of what people have seen.
Relatable.
So I feel like what a lot of people have seen recently, like with that recency, what have you done for me lately type bias, has also very heavily gone against him. Uh, and then
Hmm.
there's been like a lot of things about okay, he's getting washed. He's always been injured recently. Like he played like 8 or 9 straight seasons where he wasn't hurt. He played every single game outside of Todd Bowles because Todd Bowles decided to own him for 3 years. But like he basically played like every single game and was like a consistent, reliable dude. And then the last 2 years in Detroit, he was hurt. So he was missing games. He was playing through injuries that he probably shouldn't have, and stuff like that. So his quality of play when he was actually playing had dropped.
Hmm.
So that kind of plays into the Stafford negativity, I think as well to some
Yeah.
extent.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I love Stafford, but as of late, I don't know if if I can put him above the players I have, above them, obviously, because he's a great player, but is he better than Mahomes, Rodgers, Allen, obviously Watson, who we've talked about, but Burrow, Herbert, Kyler, or Russ?
The one dude that I would say I would question based on this year is
Is
Russell Wilson
That's
because
fair. I
he
mean,
too is kind of starting to show a little bit of aging and played through some injuries this year.
yeah,
well,
and
S-
the difference
the
between
thing about go ahead, Keelan. My fault.
the difference between me and you is I don't take just this year into consideration when I make my rankings. Russell Wilson has shown from the last freaking almost, I guess,
Decade.
10 years now that he's been a consistent top guy. top quarterback in the league. So, I mean, yeah, he struggled this year when he, broke his fingers or whatever in his throwing hand. So, yeah, I mean, it sucks. Yeah, he wasn't that great in the second half of the season, but to me, he's still worthy of being up there
Above.
above a guy like, Stafford and stuff. And I mean, they're close. They're both great players, but I just don't know what. I don't think it's fair to just completely forget about Russ after a poor season, which wasn't even that
Yeah,
poor. It was just poor by his standards.
Right.
yeah, and the thing is that he was playing through an injury, and multiple people were saying that he's mentally checked out. So he was playing hurt and playing like where he's not all there mentally,
Yeah,
emotionally. Uh, so I mean that's most people are gonna look worse. I think it shows how good he is that he was playing through those two factors and still was was still a top guy,
right.
top 10, top 12 quarterback. I think it just shows how good he is.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That his worst season has him as a top 11, 12 quarterback.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens next year. I think it's kind of going to be big for us, but that is a little
yeah.
bit off topic, so I don't want to get too in depth.
And
Uh,
just real quick before,
mhm.
if a similar season like this season happens or worse or whatever, then yeah, I'll adjust it. But I don't want to have like a 1 year sample when we've seen what we've seen. It's different from like seeing it from like Herbert for a year and a half, obviously, or Burrow. We know that because that's all they've shown in the NFL. But Wilson here has shown that he's a great player, so I don't want to use a 1 year sample. But like if I'm reevaluating like halfway through next season and he's on the same path, then yeah, I'll consider moving him down because that's who I feel the type of quarterback he is now that we've seen the prolonged sample size. And that's all. I just wanted to say that.
Cool. So, spread is currently +4 Cincinnati. Money line is currently +166 for Cincinnati, and the over under is 48.5. So Keelan, we'll start with you on this one. Your thoughts on those three?
Um, I mean that's fine. I don't really bet that much or at all because well, I'm not allowed to. But
I don't either, but like, I mean, still, do you think Cincinnati is gonna lose by less than 4?
um, well, yeah, I think I have the Rams winning. I mean, I guess sneak peek to our predictions or whatever, but I think the Rams are going to win the game. So I think it's going to be by a field goal.
Still less than 4.
Yes.
And then do you think the teams combine for 49 or more points?
No.
Okay, Braden, same two questions.
Um, I'm gonna say Rams cover,
So
not
they
by
win by
much, but they're gonna.
so they
I'm
win
gonna
by
say
4 or
they
more.
win. Yeah, I'm gonna say they. Yeah, four or more, and then hold on. I have a score in mind, so let me add it up really quick to see if it. And I'm gonna say the under hits
Oh, okay,
on that.
interesting. Interesting. I'm probably going to take over myself,
Yeah.
just because the dynamicism, whichever the proper phrasing is, of the two offenses at
Okay.
play. Uh,
Yeah,
I
for
think that
it feels a bit high, but anyways, even if
so.
there's
My
high score.
thinking is that 28-21 is cover, isn't over.
Yeah.
So if one team
Yeah.
scores 4 and the other team scores 3 touchdowns, and that's not including like field goals, which I'm sure both teams feel comfortable with their kickers, especially Cincinnati right now.
What was the
Um,
over under again? Sorry.
48.5.
48 and a half.
Uh
So
I
you're
suck at
talking
math, but my score prediction is 24-23. So whatever
so barely under.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm probably going to go with over. I think it's going to be somewhere in like the 28-24, 28-21, maybe one of the teams 6-35 even. I would bet on that being the Rams, 31. Somewhere in like the 21 to 35-ish range for both teams. But I don't think it's going to be like a 24-21 necessarily. I think both teams will score more than 3 times, or at least one of them will. Uh, so, yeah, I don't. I think I like the over there a little bit more than you guys do.
Ugh.
Okay.
Okay. So, key games so far this season. Actually, we'll start with the Rams since they showed up first. The Rams actually lost to the Broncos, so shout out to Ravens or Brains team.
In
Uh,
the preseason,
yes, in the preseason.
that was a pre. Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
Uh,
was
didn't
at that
care about
game.
the preseason.
oh, you were nice.
Yeah, there were 60,000 people at that game for a preseason game in Denver.
Top. Other key notable game is they lost to the 49ers twice, which is
Okay.
interesting. They lost to the Cardinals. So 3 of their losses they would end up coming back to win against in the playoffs, which is
Hmm.
interesting. The only teams that they didn't face in the playoffs that they lost to were Tennessee and Green Bay, who were the 2-1 seeds. And of course, both of those teams got eliminated the first game after the bye. So, pretty interesting
Yeah.
schedule there. While the Bengals, on the other hand,
Lions. Um, the Lions messed up Aaron Rodgers' confidence. That's the only way to explain it.
well, they
No,
didn't.
he was already house hunting in Denver.
Fair enough. Or Tennessee, apparently.
What I will say is they didn't mess up Joe Burrows because the Lions did get absolutely smashed by Cincinnati in Week 6, 34-11.
Yes.
Um,
Sad.
that was probably one of the Lions' worst games of the year. I wouldn't call it the worst game of the year,
Rare
but
Dan Campbell failure. True.
yeah, it was definitely one of the worst games of the year. But on the other hand, they lost to the Jets.
Okay.
Interesting.
Oh,
And the following week after that, they got completely annihilated by Cleveland.
That was the Mike White game, wasn't it?
I don't know.
yeah, that sounds right.
I don't have access to that at the moment. They got destroyed by the Chargers. Shout out Brandon Staley. They also lost to the 49ers as well. And they actually lost both games to Cleveland. So 2 of their losses were to the Browns. They beat the Chiefs twice though, which is interesting.
But the Week 17 game was a Mickey Mouse loss because Joe Burrow was sitting.
Oh, it was for the Cleveland game.
Week 18, yeah, he was sitting because they had
Gotcha.
already clinched the division, and he was kind of banged up from the Chiefs game.
Gotcha.
Ah,
But yeah, going into that, they beaten Denver in Denver, which in December is pretty tough. And then they have Baltimore.
man, we could have won that game if we didn't call a fucking read option for Drew Lock. It was like goal to go down 5, and we fumble it on the read option. Now, granted, Drew made the wrong read. It was a horrible read. It should have been a hit. It's probably a touchdown if he hands it off instead to keep it. But
Well,
but at the same time,
that's what you get for
yeah.
calling a read option when your quarterback's Drew Lock and not Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
I mean, the Chiefs game was fun. I mean, the Chiefs game understands it a bit more, but I wouldn't have. Sad.
So after the
Apparently, the
Denver
Hornets are
game,
down 50.
Unfortunate.
after the Denver game, they ended up going into Baltimore, or not going into. They ended up hosting Baltimore and beating them 41-21,
Yeah.
which I think is why Martindale got fired. And then they ended up beating the Chiefs. So going into the playoffs with Burrow, they had won their last three.
Well,
Uh,
with Burrow, yeah.
right, yes. So, and then they ended up beating the Raiders for the second time that year.
Mhm.
They ended up beating them earlier in the year, 32-13. And then, of course, Tennessee upsetting them on the road before their rematch win versus Kansas City.
Which bless them for it.
So, of course, on the other hand, definitely cannot avoid talking about their biggest win of the year. Definitely their most impressive win of the year. They beat the Jacksonville Jaguars at home by 3.
Nice
So,
work.
Okay.
so massive W to Cincinnati there for pulling off a huge win against the Urban Meyer-led Jacksonville Jaguars.
Darren Bevel better.
Okay.
So,
Daryl Bevel.
so yeah, definitely can't avoid
That's
talking
not
about
an
that.
equal comparison. I won't make that.
So, anything schedule-wise kind of stand out to you guys?
The
Just kind of like
I would like to mention that um the thing that the most important part is that both the Bengals and Rams won their playoff games to make it to the Super Bowl, which is to me
Thank you.
important.
right. Yep. So Tennessee and Kansas City
Anyway,
on the road, and Vegas at home for Cincinnati, and for the Rams that
Oakland.
was hosting Arizona and well, quote, hosting the the
40.
Cardinals and 49ers, and then traveling to what was probably more of a home game in
That's
Tampa Bay.
like that's that's like me hosting a party and my buddy brings all of his entire family, but it's me and like 30 members of this person's family, and well, that I don't never mind.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
taking a look at some of the offensive stuff here, biggest strength other than Joe Burrow for the Bengals is definitely Jamar Chase, while their biggest weakness appears to be the right side of their offensive line
Yes,
with
it stinks.
Yeah.
Hopkins, Adeniji, and Prince.
Identity. Yeah.
Uh,
That's horrible.
Yes, they all.
so,
If I'm the Rams, I'm putting Aaron Donald and Von Miller on that side and just say, all right, who do you want to have beat you?
so I was about to get into the Rams defense after we discussed the Bengals offense, but if you want to jump over to that right now, we can. Uh, so the Rams
Okay.
typically, for a majority of the season, have put Donald on the opposite side, on the left tackle side, and put Von
Yeah.
Miller on the right side to kind of balance that out a little bit. Uh, so we'll see if they make an adjustment and they flip that in their base package. However, in their nickel package, they put Donald mostly on the left guard center and Von Miller still on that right tackle side. So the
Yeah.
majority of the time, we'll likely see Von Miller versus Isaiah Prince, and we'll probably see Aaron Donald mostly versus Quentin Spain.
Sad. That's
Yeah.
not much better.
Yeah. I would just personally put him on Hopkins because it's like it's it. Yeah, it would just be a nightmare.
To be fair, Hopkins is probably their second best offensive lineman.
PFF technically has him as the third.
Okay.
They have
I mean,
Spain. They have Spain at a 68.9 and Hopkins at a 52.2.
understandable. Um, I think they're planning on possibly playing Jackson Carmen. I'm not too sure. I think that's
Yeah.
something that was mentioned
Okay,
I didn't
interesting.
hear that. I'm
Uh,
not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying
at
I did
right
not hear
guard
that.
over whoever the hell their right
Adeniji.
guard is. Energy. Bro,
I
they're
mean, it makes
playing an
sense.
offensive lineman from Kansas. I should tell you
A
enough.
football player from Kansas.
Bring you
Respect the
you
Cowboys.
say that, but like
Okay, respect. All right. other
Respect to
than
Keep Talib and Chris Harris Jr.
yeah, Mike, other than those two, who are two of my favorite Broncos of all time, respect. Like I still have the Chris Harris jersey in my closet.
I didn't know they
I
made
don't
it.
wear it. I don't wear it because I don't he's on a division rival. But other than those two, there's not good football player. Kansas does not produce good football players.
Shout out Andrew Wiggins though.
Bust. No,
S-
no, no,
That's
no.
pretty
That's
nice.
So, going back to the Broncos offense, or not, God dang it.
Let's not. That sucked.
oh, let's not discuss. I mean, we can talk a while, but it's what. I mean, we can
No,
talk a while about the
Pat,
Broncos offense and
no,
why Vic Fangio's
we'll
got
do a,
told to go home and get a job.
we'll do a separate, like, 2 hour video on the Broncos before free agency. Um,
Pat Shermer needs to go home and insert his job application to McDonald's.
Yeah, I
uh,
was like, yeah,
the Bengals offense, the
yeah.
actual good B team that made it to a Super Bowl.
Many
Uh,
people are saying
the Bengals do have Joe Williams, who is not great, but he's
average.
the best on the team. He was rated 25th out of 83 offensive tackles. Isaiah Prince graded 77th out of 83 offensive tackles. Quentin Spain, 26th out of 82 offensive guards. Adeniji, 81st out of 82 offensive guards.
Bad. That's
And
not particularly good.
it's terrible. And Hopkins is 35th out of 39 centers. So definitely a mismatch there that the Rams will look to exploit with not just Donald and Von Miller, but also with Greg Gaines and Leonard Floyd, who are also above average at their positions as well.
Respect
Uh,
Ashawn
oh,
Robinson.
Ishon's not listed as a starting nickel.
Oh well, he still gets time.
Right, yeah, he's rotational. Uh, and then on the other hand, the Bengals do have the massive advantage, at least this year, at the wide receiver positions. Looks like they have Jalen Ramsey matching up on T. Higgins. They
It's not
have.
happening.
Hmm?
It's gonna be Ramsey and Jamar. Let's be real.
Yeah, so I'm just using the PFF lineup page, which is sides. So the Bengals typically line up Chase on the left side, while the Rams typically line up Ramsey on the right side. Uh,
I see.
so obviously that can change from game to game um, for both of those guys. Uh, but yeah, in reality, it'll probably be something similar to that. And then the opposite side, they have, at least PFF, has Darius Williams typically starting at left corner uh, and David Long in the slot. So the Bengals have Jamar Chase at wide receiver 7 out of 118, so very good rookie year for him. T. Higgins, wide receiver 9 out of 118, so very good year for him. And then Tyler Boyd is wide receiver 50 out of 118, which is still pretty good, especially for number 3 there. So we talked a lot in the group chat, message-wise, about how 3 or so top 50 wide receivers is kind of my personal goal for the Lions offense next year. And the Bengals kind of are right in that mix there. 2 top 10 guys and a top 50 guy in Boyd,
Yeah.
PFF-wise. So that's kind of the goal there. Uzuma is tight end number 39 out of 70, including the postseason.
So
While
mid.
Mixon,
I'm saying so he's mid.
yeah, so he's about average. And then you have Mixon, who's running back 13. So anything on the Bengals offense first that you guys want to go over? Other than Burrow, because we already talked about him for the most
Yeah.
part.
Well, I mean, obviously Jamar's the big difference maker, but I think it's gonna come down to how T. Higgins who will likely be on the 5'9" Darius Williams. So I think that's gonna be a mismatch. T being 6'5" or so. So I'm excited to see what they do there. Um, they're gonna have to look for T with Ramsey likely being on Jamar, and I think he's gonna be a real factor to whether the Bengals win tomorrow.
Cool. Braden, do you have anyone else, or do you want to kind of double on
No,
that?
we can move on. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's fine too. So
Sorry.
on the defensive side, we already talked about the defensive line. I guess the front four, because it's not
Okay.
really a defensive line. They run 24. Um, and we've already talked a little bit about the corners with Ramsey, Williams, and Long. The other guys on the back end for the Rams, at least per the PFF nickel package, are Howard, who is not snapping enough to get a full position grade, but he does have an 82.6, so he's
Okay.
fairly good. And the other linebacker is Troy Rigger, whose linebacker is 74 out of 87. He is their worst player on their starting defense. And then at safety, we have Scott, who is 66 out of 94, and Taylor Rapp, who is 42 out of 94.
And Eric
So,
Weddle
hmm?
out. Eric Weddle will probably start.
Yeah, so Eric Weddle is actually definitely going to start because he's the play caller this week. The Rams
Fair enough.
bounced. So,
That meant that generally means you're gonna start.
I'm
right.
surprised he already knows enough to call plays.
Yeah, that's why it was kind of a big deal. But he has a 69.4 so far this postseason, so pretty good.
Yes.
Let's see who else. Oh, we actually have Rapp at the second linebacker spot in dime. So, yeah, it makes sense the Rams will definitely play quite a bit of dime. They'll put Rapp at that backer spot over Howard. And yeah, I don't think they're going to play Jones all that much. So we'll actually see probably mainly dime from the Rams in the Super Bowl, which is very nice to see. So anyone else that you guys want to kind of hint on that Rams defense?
Von Miller as I have to. Otherwise, I'd be barred as a Broncos fan. I, I'm gonna say it right now. This is either gonna be a masterclass or I'm gonna get called a bozo homer. But I'm gonna say it. Von Miller is gonna be a two-time Super Bowl MVP.
So I'm assuming in that case that you're probably going to end up taking the over 0.5 on the sacks for Vaughn.
Yes. Oh, I'd bet my I'd bet yeah I'd bet quite a if I could I'd bet quite a not I'd bet quite a bit of money on that.
Interesting. Okay. I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a mutant in the playoffs. Like like he is in terms of a playoff player. He's just been he is like one of the best playoff performers in terms of pass rusher, and on top of that, not only is he an elite playoff performer, he's going to have a favorable matchup against Isaiah Prince. I think it's just, especially with them going to have to, deservedly so, put so much attention on Aaron Donald that he's going to have a lot of great favorable matchups, and I think he's going to show splash. And I think in this is, and I think in a low scoring game that he'll win MVP.
Okay. Interesting. So here's a question for Keelan. I'll let Braden, you can go after Keelan.
Okie dokie.
Do you think that Von Miller is a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Is that all, or do you want to explain, or not really?
I mean, he's been probably the most dominant stretch of edge play. Well, one of the most dominant stretches of edge play in his prime. Yeah, I mean, he's consistently been a top 10 edge rusher since he's been drafted, pretty much. I still have him up there. I mean, he's one of the best playoff performers of all time. I don't see how he's not going wouldn't be.
Yeah, PFF has him number 4 this year, so he's arguably even still maybe top 5 at this point.
Yeah.
Braden?
Yes, he is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Well, he should be.
Yeah, if they don't give
Who
it to
know?
Ware.
Who know? You'd. I'm not sure that he will be because with Demarcus Ware not getting in, but he should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Absolutely. I
I
mean,
think
he's
Vaughn
a
has a better case to get in than DeMarcus Ware does.
look. He's a three. Yeah, I mean, looking at his career stats, he's an 8-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All Pro, Super Bowl MVP, All Decade 2010 All Decade team. He has 115 career stats with having an injury that took away basically two
2 years.
seasons for
Yep.
yeah, because he only played. I mean, he played 9 games in 2013, and you saw, and without him, just go look at the score of the Super Bowl against Seattle and how our defense got cooked without him. He had 5 sacks in 9 games in that year and got hurt, and then and then he didn't even play in 2020 because it was the Thursday practice. It was the last play of Thursday practice where I forget what it was, but he tore something in his foot and didn't play in the season.
Yep.
And it was like the last play of a practice of the Thursday practice before the opening game. So if they total, so he got yeah, so a practice injury. So he basically has 115 career sacks in 150 career games, and despite losing what's 16 plus 9, that'd be 25 games
Yes.
where he couldn't do anything because of an injury. And he's a eight, yeah, three-time first team All Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler, All Decade team, a Super Bowl champion, and a Super Bowl MVP. In my opinion, that's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Now, whether they give it to him or not, who knows? Because like I wasn't even generally mad at first when not Von Miller, sorry, Demarcus Ware wasn't in the Hall of Fame because I was just confused. I was like, I thought like genuinely on the broadcast, I thought they messed up and forgot to say his name.
Yeah, no, I was pretty shocked. I mean, I thought
Yeah, I mean,
I
yeah,
thought it was like a shoe in to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
yeah.
And I mean, like next year, like what happens? I mean, I think Darrell Revis should be a first ballot Hall of Famer, but do they give it to him? I mean, he was
It just yeah. Anyway, that's a different discussion for a different day. But yes, Ron Miller should be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
yes.
So I think myself that Vaughn probably has a little bit better of an argument to get in than Ware does. Um,
Okay.
because for one, I think that Vaughn's postseason performance is going to weigh a little bit more heavily on the voters.
Okie
Um,
dokie. Let me look at this.
so, because with with Demarcus Ware for a little while there, when he was in Dallas, he was kind of largely irrelevant. Like in terms of like the scheme of the seasons.
Eh,
Whereas
okay.
like in Denver, we've seen Vaughn be very relevant in the playoffs, and he is very relevant in this playoffs with LA. And I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that this, based on how well he performed this year, at least, I don't think he's going to be done next year or maybe even the year after. I think he has at least another year or two left.
Yeah.
Um,
He's only what, 32, 33?
He turns 33 at the end of next month.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I mean, in the postseason, 2011, and he had a sack in 2 games. In 10 playoff games, he has 8.5 sacks, three forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery, and an interception in the playoffs in 10 games.
that's fine, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
like
the dude has
sorry.
been very, very freaking good in not just the regular season over a long stretch, but also in the playoffs. And I think that that's going to be enough. And that's why I think Rivas is going to have the same troubles. Because, like, the Jets had, like, the one or two, like, really good years when they had Mark Sanchez. But Rivas says, did he ever win a Super Bowl? He might have won the 1 year with the Pats.
I do not. Let me look into this more powerfully.
But, like,
One sec.
I don't think he won a Super Bowl. I might be wrong. But I know he didn't
Who?
with the Jets because there's no way the Jets have even been to a Super Bowl.
Rivas?
Right.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Uh,
Did you? Mm, Yeah, he won it with the Patriots.
he did.
The year that that they didn't hand the ball off to Marshawn Lynch.
Oh yeah.
Patriot year or the Seahawk year. Okay, interesting.
Yes.
But like in terms of how much of a factor he was in that playoff run, I don't really think that the impact he had on that Patriot team was anywhere close to the impact that Vargas had on this Rams team,
Yeah.
or
Keep in mind he
especially,
was an All-Pro that
especially,
season.
especially the year that he had with the Broncos
I
when they made it
mean,
to the Super Bowl.
to be fair to Revis, in 10 playoff games, he has three interceptions, and 8 pass deflections, and
It's
two
harder
tackles for loss.
it's harder to evaluate the corner play from box score statistics than an
Right.
edge
Yeah,
rusher.
yeah.
But
And
I
That's
mean,
where it's like,
most of the statistics that he had came, I'm going to assume, the years he was with New York, because those were like or not Mark Sanchez, like the Mark Sanchez years where they had Rex Ryan. That dude was it's
yeah, they made
sick.
it
I
to the.
they didn't throw at him
Didn't they make it to the AFC Championship?
They did.
2 years in a row. Yeah,
And he was an All-Pro his only year with the Patriots when they made it to the Super Bowl or won the
Oh, he
Super Bowl.
was.
Yeah, he was a
Oh wow, I
All-Pro
might
that
be
year,
mistaken.
first team All-Pro that year. And then he was a Pro Bowler as well, and a Pro Bowler in his second stint with the Jets.
yeah. 7-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All Pro, Super Bowl champion. He only had 29 career interceptions, which is incredibly low. But at the same time, it's because he didn't get thrown at. Like there'd be times where he doesn't get thrown at 29 times in like a month.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get
Excuse me.
into the legit and like into a conversation on whether an edge rusher or corner is more valuable, but the direct impact that an edge rusher makes to a game is far more than a corner, in my opinion.
So the way that
Yeah.
without getting too deep into the philosophical side, because I do kind of want to get back on the Super Bowl path. For me personally, the way that I've kind of been going towards recently is that an individual pass rusher matters more than an individual secondary defender. But the
Yeah,
secondary unit makes a much bigger difference than the pass rush unit.
that's fair. Yeah, no, I I think I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like asking me all time if you want, like, I don't know, freaking
Yeah.
an edge
Because
rusher.
basically the way that the positions work to me is if you're like an elite pass rusher, like say for example TJ Watt, you can still get sacks and create plays by yourself,
Yeah.
just by
Yeah.
winning your one-on-one matchup. Like that is a way to change a game.
Yes.
Whereas, for example, if you're Jalen Ramsey but you're playing opposite, uh, what's his name,
Eli Apple.
Johnson Batamosi, not even Apple. Eli Apple's a starter. Johnson Batamosi, for
He
example,
shouldn't be.
Yeah, no.
like Jalen Ramsey being elite and not allowing a single catch all game doesn't matter because Johnson Batamosi could get roasted for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns. So, like having lesser weaknesses in your secondary, but having a bigger playmaker in your front, I think is kind of the path that I would take if I were team building.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Now, of course, that doesn't always necessarily have to be the case either, because we have seen teams like Darrell Rivas with the Jets and so on have success, and we've also seen teams that have more
The no-fly
team-based
zone.
pass rushers have success as well. For example, Baltimore and New England, uh, with Stephon Gilmore, Marlon Humphrey,
And then
Chris McAllister. The Broncos had Champ Bailey for a long time. So we've seen the opposite have success also, but
Seahawks as well with Legion of Boom.
Right, but yeah, they had like with team secondary, they had Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor and Richard Sherman.
Well, yeah, they had their team secondary, but they didn't have that that impact edge rusher that
Right.
well even the Broncos did with Vaughn. I mean, I wouldn't really call Michael Bennett nearly as close to a player that Vaughn is, or
I mean, I know he was older, but that season, Demarcus Ware was still a good player. Like he was still a very productive player for us that year.
hmm
So yeah, we can go over philosophical stuff when it makes a little bit more sense. But yeah, you just can to kind of adjust that uh, while we're there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So going to okay, well I guess first off, let's finish with. Do you guys have anything on the Bengals offense or Rams defense that we haven't talked about yet?
Um,
Um.
not really. I mean, the Rams. I'm excited to see what the Rams do. You know, with sending pressure to Burrow and the disguised looks and whatever, and because I mean that offensive line sucks. I mean, we've been through this, but I'm excited to
Yeah.
see what um Raheem Morris throws at him.
All I gotta say is Raheem Morris is putting Von Miller in coverage way more than anyone before, and it kind of pisses me off. So if
Yeah,
Raheem Morris, if you're listening to this, which you're not, but still, please don't have a Hall of Fame pass rusher drop into coverage every third snap. Please just let him go get the quarterback, and he'll win you a game. Trust me, I know from experience.
yeah, it's
Got sources in that matter.
I haven't been too impressed with Morris during the postseason. Regular season, he was pretty solid. Uh,
Eh,
but postseason play calling, especially in the fourth quarter. Oh goodness, I have been absolutely livid at some of the quarter play calling decisions. Um,
I think you've been sort of overreacting and over too harsh on them. I mean, I think the main issue has been with the offense after taking a lead. Then the defense. I mean, the defense has been great
yeah.
this entire postseason.
so with that, we will now switch to the opposite side of the ball, and we'll start with the Rams offense. So they have the number one wide receiver and now offensive player of the year, deserved, Cooper Cup in the slot. He is wide receiver 192.8 for PFF, also very deserved. They
Mhm.
also at wide receiver have Odell Beckham Jr., who is wide receiver 36 for them. Uh, Van Jefferson, who is wide receiver 99. And then Akers and Blanton don't qualify due to lack of snaps
Mhm.
for the remainder of the skill positions. While the offensive line, they have Andrew Whitworth as OT4, David Edwards as OG 38, Brian
Mhm.
Allen as center 9, Austin Corbett as guard 27, and Rob Havenstein, former best offensive lineman of the year in 2021, actually 2020,
Cap.
as offensive tackle number 6. Uh, so, obviously, you guys know I'm a huge fan of Havenstein. He was the all time war record holder for an offensive lineman in 2020, uh, with zero point 0.6 wins added, which is insane for an individual offensive lineman. Uh, so, shout out to him for being one of the best offensive linemen of the decade, at least in terms of individual seasons. And backing it up again this year with number 6 performance per PFF. So,
Yeah, no, you continuously overrate Havenstein, but it is what it is.
he is so fun to watch on the offensive line. Him and Ramchuk are, in my opinion, the two best offensive tackles. Uh,
Uh, and then you would be wrong.
I would say last year, if you include Conklin, uh, hard to say exactly where he'd be at this year because the
Are you
injury.
talking about just right tackles?
Right.
Okay, well, yeah, no, I don't. I don't agree. I think there's
I mean, you have
quite a
like Tristan Wirfs and stuff too, but like very
Yeah, no.
different style play.
Well, yeah, but they're still both still right tackles, right? I have Worth, Ramczyk, Lane, Conklin, Sewell, Collins, Moten, Brown, McGlinchey, O'Neal over Havenstein.
Oh yeah, okay, definitely disagreement in Havenstein, but uh, I know SAS loves him. PFF obviously seems to love him as well. This is the second year in a row that they've had him top 10 total tackle. Uh, so I don't know. Uh, I guess we just disagree there. But Whitworth on the opposite side is still going very strong. I think we both do agree. Well, I guess all three of us do agree on that.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I love what Worth is. I mean, I have him as my sixth best left tackle.
Mhm.
And then, of course, Cooper Cup. I don't know anyone that doesn't have him as the best wide receiver, at least this year.
Well, yeah, this year.
Yeah.
I mean, I have him as my wide receiver 7, but but this year he was clearly the best one this season.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. He was definitely the best. I mean,
The thing that makes Cooper Cup so fun to watch, though, is that the types of routes that he's able to run are so different than everybody else. Like the things that he does in terms of cross field is very impressive. And it leads to a lot of the Rams' big plays, and that's why he's such a good fit with Staff. Is because a lot of the receivers that Staff has been giving him in Detroit were vertical receivers. Like,
hmm
for example, Calvin, not really a horizontal guy. Um, Marvin Jones, not really a horizontal guy. He has some post elements and slants and stuff, but not really. Uh, Kenny Galladay, definitely not a horizontal guy at all, which is part of why he sucks in New York. Uh, um, the closest thing that the Lions gave to him like that was Golden Tate. And Golden Tate was fantastic for us for a few years. Uh, in part because for the same reasons, he's able to kind of utilize some of those horizontal concepts. And Cup has been extraordinarily good at those horizontal route concepts, your drags, um, your leaks, your PA concepts, your wheels, all those types of things that allow him to get that lateral movement and then adjust to verticality. So it's been very exciting to watch what Cup has been able to do with Staff, and I'm so glad that I traded for him in fantasy, uh, knowing that and having that in mind during the
um,
preseason.
yeah.
Because that was pretty predictable. I didn't know necessarily that he'd be Offensive Player of the Year worthy, but it was pretty easy to see that Cup was gonna have a good year with Staff, and he blew everybody's expectations out of the water. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing that makes Cup so interesting and so fascinating to watch is a lot of his success is just because he's just so much like he's not like fast or like has great speed. It's just he's just so much smarter than everyone who is guarding him that he's able to get open despite not the best athleticism just from purely just from having such a knowledge of all the routes and all the defenses that could be thrown at him.
Yep. And that's why, like, when I do a lot of my receiver evals and stuff, like, I try and focus a little bit more on, like, the mental traits. Uh, and we've talked a lot in the past on the channel about, like, finding soft spots in zones. We've talked about, like, making sure that you're breaking off your routes at the right points, um, and things like that, and zone recognition and coverage recognition and stuff like that. And yeah, definitely a focal point of Cup's game. Not just and that doesn't even include the actual technical ability of his route running, and his footwork and his polish as his actual physical ability. And even his athleticism is a little bit underrated. He was the fastest time player at the Senior Bowl his year that he came out. He was the GPS tracking as any one of the fastest players to ever be at the Senior Bowl, if I remember right. Uh, so his pad speed is definitely a lot better than is being given credit for too, and that's something that the Lions have targeted uh, with Brett Holmes now being from LA. So Definitely one of the most exciting players to watch. Definitely very likable too. He's not someone where you're gonna see like, oh my gosh, like I hate Cooper Cup. Like I don't watch him. Like I don't enjoy his stuff. Like you very rarely see that from even competitors. Like I don't know many Cardinals fans. Like have we ever heard Grayson complain about Cooper Cup?
I mean,
No.
yeah, but it's because he's cooking the Cardinals.
Like I mean, he's not like Luca. Like I mean, we see Grayson complain all the time about Luca. Uh, but like I mean, we don't really see like I hate Cooper Cup. He's like so annoying, or like he sucks,
Yeah.
or like anything like. It's
Right.
generally like, oh wow, okay.
So
So
Anyway,
yeah.
he's generally one of the more likable guys in the league too, which is pretty nice to see. So good for him. Uh,
Amon-Ra St. Brown, Offensive Player of the Year, coming soon.
So true. We just need
Malik
a
Willis.
quarterback like Matthew Stafford. Wonder where we can get one of those.
Well, I mean, no. I mean, we need Malik Willis.
Fair enough.
well, what
Understandable.
we need is a Kyle Hamilton like safety to be better than Will Harris.
Well, that doesn't help him on St. Brown,
Yes.
and it
So,
doesn't fit the narrative. So
Shouldn't.
uh, well, yeah, my narrative at this point is that we need to sign two safeties, and if we don't sign two safeties, we need to
Yeah.
take Kyle Hamilton in too.
your narrative is anti-Penei Sewell and anti-Dan Campbell, and it's
Okay,
sad.
well, you didn't do the trivia like Brayden did, so
Huh?
rip. Anyway, getting back on topic, is there anyone else that you want to discuss on the Rams offense before we move to the Bengals defense?
No.
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 Okay. So Bengals defense is probably, I wouldn't even say probably, is the worst of the four units in this game, which I think is why the Rams win. Uh,
Mhm.
Yeah.
However, they do definitely still have some good playmakers. They have DJ Reader and BJ Hill in their base package at the defensive tackle spots. Reader was their PFF's DT9 out of 119, and BJ Hill was DT20. And they also have a couple of edge rushers as well. And Trey Hendrickson, who's edge rusher 26 out of 109, and Hubbard, who's 49th. And I think that's a little bit low, but that's just me. So they still have a very strong defensive line that'll give that Rams offensive unit a pretty good challenge, especially that interior group. DJ Rigger will have the opportunity to get some pressure on Edwards and Corbett, the two weaker elements of that Rams offensive line. So that'll be a fun matchup to watch that line play on that side of the ball. And then we have Shidobi Awuzie at number 15,
Let's go Buffs.
at out of 120. Von Bell at safety number 13 out of 94, which is a pretty good group for him. Chesty Bates with a down year as safety 43. Mike Hilton as corner 19 out of 120 in their nickel package. And then their two linebackers of Logan Wilson at 38 out of 87 and Jermaine Pratt of 58 out of 87. So, any thoughts on any individual players that you want to cover from Cincinnati before we get into team?
Well, I think it's gonna be interesting. We're gonna need to see. Well, Jesse Bates needs to have a master class in, well, trying to cover downfield with, like, obviously they're gonna have their weaker corner on Odell, so him covering down the field needs to make sure that doesn't get past him. Obviously, Cup will be working the intermediate part of the field, but obviously when they're throwing deep to Odell, they need to
If
he
So
needs to
yeah,
just be better.
it's gonna be interesting because we already seen that the Bengals, at least openly, have talked about having Hilton on Cup, and that would also make sense because they're both typically found in the slot. Uh, so that seems to be the matchup there: the Bengals number one corner versus the Rams number one receiver, both slot guys, etc., etc. And then we're probably going to see Chidobe Awuzie on Odell.
yeah,
Again, Bengals number two corner, Rams number two receiver. Both guys often found left wide. So positional alignment is very similar. Uh, both number two guys. That seems to make sense. Um,
Mm.
so we can kind of expect that. On the other hand, the opposite side of the field is where things are going to get very interesting because you have Eli Apple versus Van Jefferson. Uh,
Tough.
so Van Jefferson is PFF's wide receiver 99 out of 118, and Eli Apple is their corner 73 out of 120. And I think that's a little bit high.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm like that's a bit generous.
so those are both definitely the um, weakest even of the three receiving targets. uh, and
Mhm.
secondary targets. So it'll be very interesting to see if maybe we see Von Bell maybe double team Van. Maybe we see some more zone looks from Cincinnati, which they've had a tendency to do. Um, maybe we see some Jesse Bates double teaming Cooper Cup. Who knows what their exact play in terms of coverage variation is? Because the Bengals have done very well in terms of their coverage variation this year under Lou Anarumo. So it'll be interesting to see how that opposite side of the field matchup is going to go because Cooper Cup is going to find success against Mike Hilton. I think that's
Mhm.
fair to say, even though Mike Hilton is very, very good. Um, Cooper Cup is going to beat everybody. And Odell Beckham, probably the same to a lesser extent, maybe. But he's probably going to find success against GW Uzier, who again is good, but Odell, I think, is being a little bit underrated this year at this point. Um, so it'll be interesting to kind of see how they utilize those safeties. Keely, I know you've
Yeah.
talked about this a little bit over the last couple
Mhm.
of days. Do you have any thoughts on the safety play for Cincy?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I just talked about it. I mean, it's pretty important that Bates, gets involved and makes some plays, and you know, he really needs well, obviously do his job. He's a great safety. He needs they just need to not let anyone get past him. I mean, we it's pretty much a guarantee that Cup's gonna get open in the middle of the field for some smaller chunks. He just needs to not let him get past him on the deep. They just need to limit the Stafford deep ball.
So you think they're going to play base mainly over the top in this one?
I think they should.
Okay. Braden, do you have any agreement or disagreement with that?
Yeah, I agree. I think Bates is best used over the top in this game, if I'm being honest. Obviously there's going to be deep threats with Odell and Cup. He it's not going to be every single play, but he can go deep if you let him.
Yeah, we saw it. The
Yeah,
well, like
yeah, and then
the
also
last
Van.
play. Yeah.
I think PFF personally is underrating Van Jefferson. If I'm being honest, I think he's a good player, and I think he's going to have a favorable matchup with Eli Apple on him, and I think not necessarily Bates, but you definitely will need to keep some safety help over the top because there's a
Von
lot of
Bell.
threats that yeah, Von Bell over the top, and not even just for Eli App to help Eli Apple, just in general because the receivers are good enough that eventually somebody's going to get cooked.
Yeah.
I think you should, yeah, having your safeties, especially more so Bates over Bell, but in terms of like pure over the top, I but I think a lot of cover two looks would be wise from the Bengals tonight. Not tonight, no, tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's going to be very interesting because, like, I mean, the debate on whether the double Cooper Cup is a potential factor there. Um, do they want maybe double team Odell? It's going to really, I think, come down to second half adjustments at that point because
Yeah.
we've seen the Rams struggle a bit at times with that, but they have what I would consider to be the distinct personnel advantage in that matchup with their offense versus the Bengals defense. So the Rams have a little bit more flexibility to kind of say, okay, we want to do the same thing and just force it to Cooper or force it to Odell or force the Bengals to do a certain thing and and maybe like just go back to back to back to back with
Yeah.
those looks, and eventually something will hit. And that's something that Stafford did a lot in Detroit too. Like basically just
Mhm.
Calvin streak, Calvin streak, Calvin streak, Calvin streak, and eventually they cover triple cover Calvin Johnson. Hey, Golden Tate's wide open, touchdown. Uh, so like you kind of force those teams to take care of the same things repetitively, and then they notice that trend, and it kind of results in a little bit of overcorrecting. Uh,
Mhm.
and you'll see a team like, okay, like they've done this to us 5 times this game now. Golden Tate slant, Golden Tate slant, Golden Tate slant, Golden Tate slant. Boom, Kelvin Johnson on the vertical. Like it kind of leads to a little bit of that overcorrection. And I think that's kind of going to be something that the Rams try and utilize in this game because they have that talent advantage or that perceived
Mhm.
talent advantage, where maybe they can run Cooper Cup. Okay, Cooper Cup track, Cooper Cup track, Cooper Cup track, Cooper Cup track, Cooper Cup slant, like all these Cooper Cup short routes that maybe something will free up, and then like okay, we need to cover down like toward the line of scrimmage a little bit more. Those shallow concepts, maybe they bring Jesse Bates in on like an underneath to try and double that middle of the field shallow, like a robber coverage, and then bam, that instantly brings up Odell for a deep threat streak. So I think we'll see a lot of repetitiveness from the Rams offense in terms of their passing concepts, and that'll kind of lead to Cincinnati being like, okay, we need to do this, we need to do this, because they keep going after the same area of the field. They keep targeting your linebackers. We need to bring the safety help to the middle of the field. Boom, you have the boundary open up. So, uh,
Mhm.
hold on, guys. I have to take care of something real quick. So, can you discuss maybe some of that repetitiveness
Okie dokie.
potential?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um.
Sad.
So yeah, no, like I wasn't really paying attention to what Chris was saying, to be honest with you. So
Yeah.
uh, we are. Well, I mean, basically, what the case is here with the Rams offense is your corners
Yeah.
aren't good enough to stop Odell and stop Cooper Cup. So the
So basically, with that, you're gonna need to you're gonna need to bring the
son of a
safeties.
bitch.
You're gonna need to bring the safeties. So whether it depends on where, and what, and when you're thinking. So whether that's bringing the safeties down to help
Yeah.
cover the intermediates to give help to the corners that way, or keeping them over the top in terms of cover two looks and more so. Either way, I think the safeties are for the Bengals are gonna.
Yeah. No. We see some of the best defenses in the league have elite safety
Yeah,
play. Look at the Bills with Hyde and Poyer
yeah,
as the key examples. So
yeah, yeah. I think if they probably won't win MVP, as it, but I think Von Bell and Jesse Bates, in terms of, I think they're the most important players in terms
y-
of the success of the Bengals defense.
unless it's a shootout, if the if the Bengals are able to shut down
Yeah,
the Rams passing attack, it will be because of Jesse Bates in particular and Von Bell and that safety duo.
yeah. Not that. I mean, obviously like Hilton and Uwuzie, they're too good. They're good players, so I'm not. They're not going to get consistently cooked.
Right, but yeah, but
Yeah,
like
they're
they can't consistently shut down both Odell and Cup,
yeah.
especially
But to be fair, in their defense, I don't know how many corners would be able to.
true.
So it isn't them sucking. It's just they're going against two elite players, and when you're going against elite players, you're going to sometimes get cooked.
Right. Yeah, I mean, happens.
Yeah.
So, any other thoughts on the Bengals defense in general? I know that you guys just got done talking a little bit about the safety play, but maybe the linebackers. You want to touch on that, or anything else before we move on to the final kind
Um,
of.
I think the linebackers really they need to. I think, in my opinion, the linebackers they should be used in like in terms of like they need to be used as blitzers more often because I think a lot of your success is going to come from putting Stafford under pressure and forcing him into quick decisions and maybe bad decisions or and affect his throwing, whether it's just being in his face and in his space or whether it's actually hitting him. I think linebackers I think should be glorified pass rushers and not necessarily glorified pass rushers because they need to be help in the middle, but they would be they should be he's brought as blitzers quite a bit in my opinion.
Yeah, but the passing offense is so catered around the middle of the field that you kind of want the linebackers playing in a coverage role.
Well, my thought is if you bring in the linebackers, then you could roll down the safeties to cover that hole and bank on the pressure to where your receivers don't get, you cover the middle, your corners don't get beat deep before the pass rush gets home.
Fair enough.
So going for like that Ravens esque
Yeah, basically
style play.
pass rush and inshallah that bitch.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
That's mostly a joke.
right. So moving on to the final phase of the call, I'm going to go over. I forget how many questions there are. I think it's like 35 questions. And this will
Oh,
be kind of like rapid fire. So we'll start with Keelan first, and then Braden, and then bring in the Keelan or whatever.
like,
Uh,
are you talking about the thing that you already sent us?
yes.
Okay.
So we're gonna go over your answers to those, and then I don't remember what mine were, but uh, that's not
Neither do
entirely relevant anyway. And then you guys can give your like just one word answers to the
Hmm.
questions that I sent.
I.
So,
Sure.
first question is who throws for more passing yards, Stafford, Burrow, or anyone else?
Who do you want going
Uh,
first?
It doesn't matter.
Okay, I think it'll be Stafford.
uh, I put Burrow in the passing thing, but looking back at it, I think it will be Stafford.
By the way, if you need to change your answers, you can until 6 o'clock tomorrow.
Okay, so I could just fill out another form just
You,
basically
you
say something like
sh you
ignore
shouldn't
first form.
you shouldn't need to. Uh,
Okay.
you should be able to just edit your response.
I don't know. I don't think you can do that with Google. Anyway, we'll
Yeah,
worry
can
about that
because
later.
I'll talk to you about it after, but I know you can because I enabled that option.
I
Interesting.
see.
All right. Yeah, I say. Um.
So you said you both say Stafford?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I left an other. So all these other questions, I also left an other option in case you think somebody gets hurt. So
Well, if somebody gets hurt, then it'll be the other player.
right, yeah. Uh, so I did leave
Odell
an
Beckham Jr. 's throwing for the most passing yards tomorrow.
yeah.
Confirmed.
So I did leave an other option for if you wanted to say like Brandon Allen or John Wolford or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so feel free to do that if you want.
Imagine they both got COVID tomorrow morning, and we had to watch a John Wolford, Brandon Allen Super Bowl.
Man,
Okay.
Hopefully, hopefully the truckers convoy gets in the way of that.
sad.
So passing touchdowns. Bring
Um.
you first because I kind of like to alternate if you don't mind.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Yo, basketball. Jokic bottled it, missed two free throws, and then he made the game-winning block.
Oh, fun.
Okay.
Anyway, so what was the next
Passing
question?
touchdowns.
Burrow.
Yeah, I agree with that. It'll be
Okay.
Burrow because I don't know they like to pass it more in the red zone, whereas the Rams like to run it. It feels like to me.
Okay.
Hmm.
Interesting.
I don't have a stat for that. That's just how it feels like, especially in the last few weeks in the playoffs.
Fair enough. Total turnovers, so fumbles and interceptions.
In terms of team or quarterback,
Quarterback.
Burrow.
Say that again.
Total turnovers for the quarterback.
I'm gonna say tie.
Okay. Uh, QB rushing yards, including sack yards.
Uh, including sack yards lost because of sacks.
Yes.
Stafford, because I think Burrow's going to get sacked more and lose yards.
Yeah, I agree, Stafford. I
Higher
think Burrow's
completion.
gonna have more rushing yards that is counted in the stat sheet, but I think that the sacks will change it.
Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna use college rush rules.
Okay.
QB completion percentage. Higher.
Is it me? I don't know. I'm gonna say it
Why
anyway.
don't we always go you than me just so we know
That's
have
fine
the
too.
structure?
I don't remember what it was.
Completion
Completion
percentage.
percentage? Burrow.
I'm gonna agree, Burrow.
Non QB rushing yard leader.
Um, Mixon.
Yeah, Mixon, I'm gonna agree with you.
Non QB yards per carry.
Keelan.
I'm thinking very powerfully.
Okay, because I have an answer. This is
I'm
gonna be a bit out here.
feeling Sony Michelle.
God damn it! I was about to say the same thing.
Okay.
I think he's gonna
Yeah,
break off a couple runs when he comes in early.
yeah. Like he gets a couple runs to where he doesn't get a couple. He doesn't get a ton of carries, but at the same time But yeah, he gets enough to where yards per carry is the highest.
Yeah.
Okay. Running back reception leader.
Mm, Acres.
Um,
Cap. I'm gonna go outside the box. I'm gonna say, uh, what's his face? Chris Evans.
Oh wow. Okay.
They
yeah,
throw it to him, couple screens a game. I don't know. I think that's my guess.
yeah.
How about you, Braden?
Um, I'm gonna say Sony Michelle.
Okay. Running
Okay,
back receiving yards.
Yes,
that was touch. That was catches, right?
most catches.
Yeah.
Mixon.
Okay. So
Most
then you
catches.
say Michelle for yards. Keelan.
Yes, Yeah,
Yards probably. Yeah, probably Michelle.
Cool. Non running back rushing yards.
Um,
So quarterback, wide
Jamar.
receiver, tight end.
Jamar.
Mm-hmm.
Braden.
Sorry, say that again.
Most quarterback rushing yards.
Non running back.
Non-running back rushing yards.
Cooper Cup.
I agree there. Rams receiving yards.
Odell.
Yeah, Odell.
Bengals receiving yards.
Jamar
Mm,
Chase.
yeah, probably Jamar.
Interesting. So we talked about the Ramsey thing earlier. That doesn't play a factor here.
Well, it does, but I just think that Jamar
It.
is
Yeah.
superior.
Okay, interesting. First player to score a receiving touchdown, if there is one.
There should be one.
Yes,
Um,
in this game there should be.
Odell.
I don't know. Thank you. Um,
Sad.
I don't know. Good. I think it's gonna be Uzoma.
Oh, okay.
Uzama.
Wow, going a little bit
Okay.
off the radar there. First
I
pass
mean, with that,
reception.
Pardon?
Sorry, say
First reception.
Van.
Cup.
Wow, okay, so you guys both have the Rams starting on offense. Interesting. Or I guess the Bengals going 3 now to start. Most receptions, both teams. Like overall total. So like one player from either team.
Yeah.
Jamar. Eh. Yeah. I don't know. Actually, probably Tyler Boyd.
First touchdown for the Bengals.
No, most receptions.
For either team. Total.
Either team, I'm gonna say Odell.
Okay. Defensive sacks.
Vaughn.
No, team for this one.
Oh, Rams.
Rams.
Individual sacks.
Vaughn.
Vaughn.
More third downs forced on defense.
Rams.
Rams.
More forced fourth downs on defense.
Rams.
Yeah, Rams.
So this is a little bit tricky because you have to keep in mind possessions too.
Mm-hmm.
So if the Bengals get more possessions, then, or I mean, if the Rams get more possessions, then they might.
That'll be
force
tough. I don't. It's a
Yeah.
tough. I'll say Rams, but I'm not confident in that.
Most turnovers forced. So fumble recoveries, interceptions, safeties, and fourth down stops, but not including punts. So basically, turnover rundowns, fumble, interception, safety, but no punt.
Yeah. Bengals probably. I don't know. I don't trust the ball security of the.
And tie is an option for these if you didn't know that.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'll still say Bengals, but just to be interesting.
I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say tie.
Okay. Most fourth down conversions attempted. By conversions, I'm excluding punts.
Rams.
Rams.
Because I think the Rams are going to be down at the half, and I think they're going to be more aggressive.
Well,
Interesting. Okay.
I'm gonna change that and say Bengals.
Okay, I tend to agree. Who punts more from the other team's half of the field?
Probably the Rams still.
Yep.
I'm gonna say Rams. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
a
think
McVay thing.
Yeah.
Who has the lead at the half?
Bengals.
Ooh. Rams.
Super Bowl MVP?
Stafford.
Von Miller.
Okay. Coin toss result.
In terms of who wins it or heads or tails?
Heads or tails?
Tails.
Good. Heads.
Who wins? Coin toss.
Rams. Oh, who wins the toss? Rams, yeah.
Bengals.
Gatorade color for the winner.
Actually, sorry, I take that back. I want Bengals because I had the Rams getting the ball first. Gatorade color white.
So clear. Okay.
Clear, white, yeah, whatever. I think if it's the Bengals, it'll be orange, but I think the Rams are gonna win. I think it's gonna be clear or white.
Blue because the Rams.
Okay, interesting. National anthem or God Bless America mistake?
No, because it's a Super Bowl, and if they make a mistake singing the Star Spangled Banners, then they need to go home and get a job.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Christina Aguilera did a few years ago.
Well, that's Christina Aguilera.
shout out to Fergie. She did it that NBA All-Star
Oh,
game that one year.
that was shocking.
That was awful.
Who's singing the national anthem this year?
I don't even know.
I'm gonna look this up.
But I'm gonna say no mistake.
Mickey Guyton.
Who?
That's what I'm.
Not
She's
familiar.
a country She's an African American country music singer raised in Texas. Well, considering she's from a hillbilly redneck neck place, she should not be making a mistake of the national anthem.
Yeah. Sad. Uh, thank you. Well, this is unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, anyways, this person I've never heard of, but
Okay.
she was the first black woman to achieve a #1 hit on the Canada country chart. So
Okay.
she
Good for her.
she collaborated with Dean Brody.
I see. Yeah. I'm gonna say no mistake.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna back her.
Eminem's first song of the halftime show.
Um, Real Slim Shady.
Technically, in turn, is it just? It's just like the first song he performs on, not necessarily his first own song, right?
Right.
Forgot about Dre.
Opening kickoff touchback.
Yes.
Yes.
First offensive play, run pass, or broken play.
Run.
Broken play would
Pass.
be like a snap over the quarterback's head.
Yeah, I know
Braden
what a broken play in a Super Bowl is, Chris.
Braden on flashback.
Yeah, as soon as you said snap over the head, I'm like, yeah, I know what you meant, sir. Anyway, I'm gonna say pass.
Okay. Final points scored.
Like total?
No, like who scores the final point?
Oh, the Rams.
No, like the
Well,
player.
oh, Matt Gay.
Okay.
Um,
I think it's gonna be a walk-off field goal by Matt Gay to win it for the Rams.
Oh, wow.
okie dokie.
Braden.
I know. I'm just thinking.
Fair enough.
Evan McPherson.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. Uh, will either team have an offensive play of 50 or more yards?
Yes.
Yes.
Team with the most penalties?
Bengals.
Bengals. Yeah.
They're gonna take hella holds, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Will the Super Bowl this year go to overtime?
No.
No.
Okay, interesting. Live overtime games this playoff, so worth asking.
Yeah.
Largest point margin at any point in the game
10
for either
points.
team.
10.
Um, 9.
Okay, interesting number. Final margin of victory for the winning team.
1.
6.
Okay, and finally, last question: who wins? What team?
The Rams.
Rams.
Nice. Alrighty, Brain, we'll start with you. Do you have any other thoughts that you want to add before we
Oh,
kind of
I
wrap
was
this
just
one up?
curious. I was curious to see what the final score was for Keelan.
Oh, I said it already. 24-23.
Oh, I didn't hear it. My fault.
Yeah, I said it at the very beginning, like near the beginning of the
Well, that
thing.
was back in Nam, so I forgot. By now.
Understood. But yeah,
I'm
no.
gonna say the Rams win 24-18, and the reason I say that Evan McPherson gets basically Evan McPherson gets the last point is they're gonna kick a field goal to make it a 1-score game, then try the onside kick.
Makes sense. Yeah, no, I have it. I have the Rams being down by 2. Like, I have them being down 23-21, and then Stafford leading a masterclass and a Matt Gay walk-off field goal.
Interesting. So anything else, Braden?
No.
Cool. Keelan, do you have anything else you wanted to go over?
No.
Sweet. Well, thank you guys for joining me today. Hopefully you guys like this long video. It's been a pretty long hiatus too. So hopefully you guys like this one, enjoyed this one, learned a thing or two along the way. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this over the course of the next coming days, weeks, months, years, etc. I guess at this point. Um, so yeah, definitely gonna be planning on getting back into draft stuff here in a couple days to
Hmm.
weeks, hopefully soon. Especially with combine and pro days and stuff coming up later this month, I think. So,
Yeah, combines in March.
later next month. Okay. Uh, but with that being said, hopefully, you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. And for now, peace out.